let's talk about something that's all around us, but we barely ever notice it. It's a legal relationship that's so common, it's practically invisible. We're talking about legal agency. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this really powerful, unseen connection. Think about this for a second. Have you ever hired a freelancer for a project? Or maybe used a real estate agent to find a new apartment? Or hey, even just delegated a simple task to a colleague at work? Well, if you've done any of those things, then guess what? You've already stepped into the world of legal agency. It's the framework that lets one person act for another, and we're about to see exactly how it all works. All right, so let's get right down to it. What is agency, really? And who are the main players in this little legal dance? Okay, so at its core, agency is just a relationship where one person, we'll call them the agent, gets the power to legally connect another person, the principal, with someone else, a third party. The agent's actions create rights and this is the big one, liabilities for their principal. That is a huge deal. Yeah, that's why people often call it a triangular relationship. It's pretty straightforward when you break it down. You've got the principal, they're the one in charge, the agent, the person acting for them, and the third party, that's who the agent is dealing with. Simple enough, right? But how do these powerful relationships actually get started? I mean, they don't just pop up out of nowhere. So let's look at how agency is created. So usually it happens in one of two ways. On one hand, you have express agency. That's the easy one. It's created with clear words, either spoken out loud or written down in a contract. But then, on the other hand, you have implied agency, which is a lot more subtle. It's not about what's said, but what's done. It's all about the behavior of the people involved and the situation itself. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. Sometimes an agency relationship isn't created by an actual agreement at all, but just by how things look to the outside world. This is something called apparent authority, and a real-world story makes it crystal clear. Check this out. It's a real case from Ghana. A passenger's at a super busy bus station. He pays a guy, a bookman, to load his bag onto the bus. The bag disappears. So the passenger goes to the driver, and the driver says, "Hey, that guy doesn't work for me. He's not my agent." So who's on the hook for the missing bag? The court came back and said, yep, the driver is responsible, and here's why, and this is the key takeaway. Because the driver was right there, and he just allowed the bookman to act like he was in charge. Taking money, loading bags, he created the appearance of an agency relationship. To the passenger, the whole thing looked legit, and the law basically said, we agree. Okay, so what happens if someone goes and does something in your name, but they have absolutely no permission? Zero. Is that it? Well, actually, there's a way to make that act valid after the fact. It's a legal concept called ratification, where you basically give your approval after the event. But wait a second. Does this mean you can just give your stamp of approval to anything someone does in your name, no matter how wild it is? Oh, absolutely not. And the law is crystal clear on this. There's this classic case, Brooke v. Hook, where a man forged a signature on a loan document. Later, the person whose name was faked tried to approve it anyway, to ratify it. The court said, no way. And the lesson here is crucial. You cannot ratify something that was a nullity, meaning legally void from the very beginning. You can't bring something back to life that was legally dead from the get-go. So once this whole agency thing is up and running, what are the rules of the game? What does each person actually owe the other? You have to think of it like a deal, a two-way street. It's built on duties that go both ways. The agent owes the principal things like loyalty, they have to act in good faith, follow the instructions, and definitely no making secret profits on the side. In return, the principal has to pay the agent what they agreed, and, this is important, they have to indemnify them, which just means they cover the agent's back for any costs they rack up while doing their job legally. But of course, not all relationships last forever, right? So how does an agency actually come to an end? There are basically two main ways this can all wrap up. The first one is pretty obvious, the act of the parties. They might both agree to end it, or one person just says, I'm out, and revokes the authority. The second way is a little more dramatic, operation of law. This is where the relationship ends automatically because of some major life event, like the death, insanity, or even bankruptcy of either the principal or the agent. So, after all of this, why should you care about agency? Well, the simple answer is because, and I'm not exaggerating here, it's everywhere. Agency is the invisible engine that keeps our modern world humming.
It's the legal magic that lets us delegate, represent others, and just operate on a scale we could never manage on our own. It's the silent force behind a talent agent negotiating a movie deal, a financial advisor managing a portfolio, or even a CEO closing a multi-billion-dollar merger.
And really, this whole concept is summed up perfectly in this quote from a classic case. When an agent makes a contract, it legally belongs to the principal. The agent is just the messenger, the one making the move. But the consequences, the good and the bad, they land right on the principal's shoulders. And that is both the power and the risk of agency. So I want to leave you with this thought. Now that you know what to look for, where is this invisible framework of agency at work in your life? At your job, at home, maybe in your next big project? Once you start looking for it, you'll start seeing it absolutely everywhere.